Now, ninth class students, our first chapter you can see units and measurement. And we begin with our introduction of unit and measurement. And in science, especially in physics, that the creativity is required, highly imagination's power is required. So let us explore some of the questions. When we begin our topic, the very first question, why does the rainbow have specific colors in a specific pattern? In a rainbow, it has a specific pattern in a curved way
Yes.
and with different colors. So you have to think that why a rainbow have a special type of pattern with this different color. The second thing, why do stars twinkle? We have poem in our earlier classes, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Why do stars twinkle, children? That again a very interesting question. Then the next is, what is the meteoroid? The students who are interested in astrophysics, that what is a meteoroid? And then why do day and night occur in a cyclic order? Cyclic order, after 24 hours means morning is there, evening is there, day is there, night is there. So why this happens? So all these questions are the part of physics. You will find the answer of all these questions in, especially in our science. So all these questions lead us to a very important thing, that the curiosity. Curiosity of what? Listen carefully, ninth class students. This curiosity leads us towards science. And now the question arises, children, what is a science? We start studying science subject from our grade 5, 5th class onwards. And what is a science here, students? Systematic knowledge of the physical or material world gained through observation and experimentation. The knowledge acquired or gained through observation, by observing, but just simply observing anything, any phenomena, or by doing certain experiment, then this observation need not always correct. When we observe anything, for example, when we observe a railway track, suppose you are standing on a railway platform on a railway track, and you know that the railway track, it is a parallel. But whenever you see, you find at a large distance that it is a converging. It appears that it's not a parallel, but in reality, it's a parallel track. It's a parallel track, completely 100% parallel. So, what we can conclude from it, we cannot trust just on observation. Means sometimes we or our observation can be wrong. There might be chances of some error. Sometimes it's a huge error, sometimes it's a minute or minor error. So if our observation, or we are not pretty sure about our observation, so it means our next task is to do some experiment. So experimentation is essential to get the exact value. Now here, for this we require precise calculation, definitely for our observation. If we are observing anything, our observation should be precise. There is one example actually from the Ohm's law, and this Ohm's law we are not going to study in grade 9. In grade 10 we will discuss on it. So I just want to skip this example. We need to measure things for accurate results, yes. The purpose of experiment is to establish the law, and hence measurement of different physical quantities is extremely important. Measurement of physical quantity extremely important, children. You listen carefully, children. You don't need to do anything. Just pay attention and listen carefully. Whenever you find a very interesting information, you please note down in your notebook, and you can request me, sir, please just hold on. We want to note it down in our notebook. Next thing, all these things lead us to a very important topic, a measurement that is the very first chapter of our grade 9. Let us understand some term before we start this topic of measurement. Now, I will have given here some list of quantities, and students, you need to find out what these quantities are. Weight, length, height, temperature, pressure, time. What are these quantities? Is there anyone in grade 9 who can explain what are these physical quantities? Sorry, what are these quantities?
Quantities commonly used in experiments.
Okay.
Used in daily life.
Used in our daily life. Okay. Actually, that.
Are we supposed to?
Yes, please.
Are we supposed to explain them individually or as a whole?
The whole, these terms, that the quantity which you see here on my screen, is there any specific name given to these quantities? What are the common in between all these things?
Measurements.
You're measuring.
Yeah,
They're
measurements.
mathematical.
Yes, correct. Absolutely correct. Now, children, here, the name given to this quantity is physical quantities. Physical quantity means all these things. Actually, we have a numerous physical quantities, but here on the screen you can find few examples. Weight, time, temperature, height, length, pressure. All these are physical quantities that we can calculate, we can measure, we can touch all these things, and that are called the physical quantities. We can measure weight, we can measure height and time, all these things, and so many things which can be counted, which can be measured directly or indirectly by any way, by any means, are considered a physical quantity. This is the first topic, children, that you should remember. You should remember that the meaning of physical quantity. This is just the beginning of this chapter. These are the basic terms that you should remember. The next, there is a definition. You can note down this definition. A quantity that can be measured is called as physical quantity. Now, students, in this chapter, we are also going to discuss what are the various ways by which we can measure a physical quantity, but we are not going to discuss in today's lesson, but in our next classes, definitely we will do. Examples are there. Again, the same examples. Area is there, volume, density, force, pressure, work, power, energy. All these things are physical quantities. Speed is a physical quantity. Acceleration is a physical quantity. Now, apart from the physical quantity, we have another type of quantity that is called the non-physical quantity, or sometimes the abstract quantities. So what are non-physical quantities? Anyone? Sneha, Deepak?
It can't be measured.
It cannot be measured, correct. Anyone else?
Light years.
Sorry?
So that was just example I gave.
Okay. Anyone else?
Um, like maybe like huge gaps in time, like maybe like eons and stuff. I don't know. Wait, no. Does that make sense?
Okay, let me show you some best example for non-physical quantity. That the first is uh, a quantity that cannot be measured is called as non-physical quantity. Example is love, hatred, like, dislike. So especially to understand the meaning of non-physical quantity that cannot be measured. For example, love. Love is the best example. You know how much love your parents do? Can you measure that love? Can you measure a love between a brother and sister? Can you measure a love between a boyfriend and girlfriend? Can you measure a love between the creation and the creator? Means between the God and the human being? So these are the things, children. Is there anyone that who can measure that my father, my mother, my parents, they do not, or he or she doesn't love me? No. Now again, you students, you are sitting here online classes. Your parents are working, maybe offline or online. They are still scared how their children are doing in online classes, whether they are unable to understand or not, whether their internet connection is working or not. That show concern, a love, and greater than of this, the love of parents, the love of God. In the Bible, that the God Jesus Christ died on the cross, His love for the human being, for the humanity. So all these things are there, children. So similarly, that you can also consider the example of hatred, like, etc., and many other things you can also explore by yourself. Let me move to the next slide. Okay, there are a few questions, and I will ask this question one by one to all of you. The first is, which of the following is not a physical quantity? And this question is for Amog. The examples are length, mass, time, and air. Any idea, Amog?
Air.
Air is not a physical quantity. You cannot measure it. Okay, it's present everywhere. So next question is for, yeah, air is the right answer. Which of these is a physical quantity? And this question is for Satria. And you can see the options here: acceleration, like, dislike, hatred. Which of these is a physical quantity?
Acceleration.
Yeah, acceleration is a physical quantity. We will discuss more in detail about the acceleration in the second chapter, in motion acceleration. Correct. Now the third question, curiosity. Curiosity leads us to, and this question is for Arshdeep Kaur. Options are, sorry, science, only observation, only experimentation, none of these. This was there in the previous slides. Curiosity leads us to, anyone else?
None of these. So it's A.
This leads us
Science.
to science, that we discussed. It leads to it. It's a complicated question also, that curiosity leads us to science, or whether observation or experimentation, or one of these. But if we just focus on the previous slide, then you will find that the answer is science. We discussed already about this physical quantity. Again, there is a definition. Any quantity which can be measured directly or indirectly, or in which any laws of physics can be expressed, is called a physical quantity. And students, there are two types of physical quantities in SI system. Now students, this SI system that the till now whatever I have discussed, this is not available in your textbook. These are the basics parts, basic information, just an introduction. In our textbook, the very first topic, if we open your textbook, children, and you will find our first topic is numbers and units, combining units, right and wrong, scientific notations. Then we have the SI units. Basically, our first topic is in our book SI system. So still I will continue with that. There are two types of physical quantities. Now, children, before that, quantities we discussed, we have the two types of quantity. That one is the physical quantity and the non-physical quantities. Now that physical quantities are further divided in how many parts? Two types. The first one is fundamental, and the second one, derived quantities. Derived quantities. Physical quantities, fundamental and derived quantities. And this fundamental and derived quantities, children, we are going to discuss in our next class.